came by this house. After he died and his boy Charlie was killed in South Africa, there were no relations left. Yes, it's a pretty little property. Just the sort of thing for an old sailor like me who has taken to gardening. One always remembers one's mistakes much more vividly than one's cleverest things, doesn't one? I've often noticed it. I was dining with the Pratts one night when I told them the story that afterwards made so much difference. It was a wet night in November, and the sea was moaning. Hush! If you don't speak, you'll hear it now. Do you hear the tide? Gloomy sound, isn't it? Sometimes about this time of year— Hello! There it is. Don't be frightened, man. It won't eat you. It's only a noise after all. But I'm glad you've heard it, because there are always people who think it's the wind or my imagination or something. You won't hear it again tonight, I fancy, for it doesn't often come more than once. Yes, that's right, put another stick on the fire and a little more stuff into that weak mixture you're so fond of. Do you remember old Blauklot the carpenter on that German ship that picked us up when the Clontarf went to the bottom? We were hove to in a howling gale one night, as snug as you please, with no land within 500 miles, and the ship coming up and falling off as regularly as clockwork. "Pity the poor people's ashore this night, boys," old Blauklot sung out as he went off to his quarters with the sailmaker. I often think of that, now that I'm ashore for good and all. Yes, it was on a night like this, when I was at home for a spell, waiting to take the Olympia out on her first trip. It was on the next voyage that she broke the record, you remember? But that dates it. 92 was the year, early in November. The weather was dirty, Pratt was out of temper, and the dinner was bad, very bad indeed, which didn't improve matters, and cold, which made it worse. The poor little lady was very unhappy about it, and insisted on making a Welsh rarebit on the table to counteract the raw turnips and the half-boiled mutton. Pratt must have had a hard day. Perhaps he had lost a patient. At all events, he was in a nasty temper. "My wife is trying to poison me, you see," he said. "She'll succeed some day." I saw that she was hurt, and I made believe to laugh, and said that Mrs. Pratt was much too clever to get rid of her husband in such a simple way. And then I began to tell them about Japanese tricks with spun glass and chopped horsehair and the like. Pratt was a doctor and knew a lot more than I did about such things, but that only put me on my mettle, and I told a story about a woman in Ireland who did for 3 husbands before anyone suspected foul play. Did you never hear that tale? The 4th husband managed to keep awake and caught her, and she was hanged. How did she do it? She drugged them and poured melted lead into their ears through a little horn funnel when they were asleep. No, that's the wind whistling. It's backing up to the southward again. I can tell by the sound. Besides, the other thing doesn't often come more than once in an evening, even at this time of year, when it happened. Yes, it was in November. Poor Mrs. Pratt died suddenly in her bed not long after I dined here. I can fix the date, because I got the news in New York by the steamer that followed the Olympia when I took her out on her first trip. You had the Leofric the same year. Yes, I remember. What a pair of old buffers we are coming to be, you and I. Nearly 50 years since we were apprentices together on the Clontarf. Shall you ever forget old Blauklot? "Pity the poor people's ashore, boys." Take a little more with all that water. It's the old Hulstkamp I found in the cellar when this house came to me. The same I brought Luke from Amsterdam 25 years ago. He had never touched a drop of it. Perhaps he's sorry now, poor fellow. Where did I leave off? I told you that Mrs. Pratt died suddenly. Yes. Luke must have been lonely here after she was dead, I should think. I came to see him now and then, and he looked worn and nervous, and told me that his practice was growing too heavy for him, though he wouldn't take an assistant on any account. Years went on, and his son was killed in South Africa, and after that he began to be queer. There was something about him not like other people. I believe he kept his senses in his profession to the end. There was no complaint of his having made bad mistakes in cases or anything of that sort, but he had a look about him. Luke was a red-headed man with a pale face when he was young, and he was never stout. In middle age he turned a sandy grey, and after his son died he grew thinner and thinner.